Feast TV is brought to you with the support from Missouri Wines, IKEA, Caldy's Coffee, Old Time Produce, and the Raphael Hotel.
In this episode, we are on the hunt. I'm Cat Neville, and this is Feast TV. In this episode, we are going on a duck hunt with my friend Steve Holmes. I got to know Steve years ago because he's relatively connected in the St. Louis food scene, and I interviewed him for our October issue, which was focused on the great outdoors. And so during that interview, I got really interested in what it meant to go hunting. I've never been hunting before, and it's a big part of food culture here in Missouri and in other states around the country. So today, we're going to go on a duck hunt with Steve, and we're going to get to know a little bit about hunting culture.
Ducks fascinate me. I don't know why, but they do. They're gorgeous, they're interesting. As soon as you think you got them figured out, they teach you that you don't. And what's that? And they're delicious. I came late to the game, so in my mid-30s is when I discovered hunting. I was a city kid. I grew up in Kirkwood. We didn't go out to the country on a regular basis. We did what suburban kids did, right? We went to the mall, etc. We started Wing Shoot Farms in 1999. A bunch of the guys had been members of a duck club farther south in St. Charles County. The owner passed away. We needed a place to hunt, so we came up and bought some land here, and have been kind of building and expanding on it ever since then. I think this duck club is an incredibly social experience. Some of my very best friends are members here with me. I hunt with them every day, and have been bringing my kids out here since we've had the place. So they all spend a real important part of their youth here, and whenever they come back into town, they seem to make their way up here for at least one hunt or two. For me, it's a friendship. It's the guys that we hunt with all year, and the kids and the camaraderie. And then secondly, it'd be nature. It's great to be out here and being in the middle of nature. The deer population in Missouri is incredible. The turkey population is as good as anywhere in the country. And we are right in the middle of the Mississippi Flyway, which is the largest flyway for migratory ducks and geese in the United States, maybe in the world. So we're blessed. You know, we joke in St. Louis that you can drive in any direction for an hour and you're in a cornfield, which is true. But there's an awful lot more than just corn out there. We're 2 miles from the Mississippi River. Every time you come out here, it's a fascinating window into a part of the world that I think a lot of people don't realize is an hour or less than an hour away from where you live and where you work.
This is great.
And it'll keep you warm.
Yeah, thank you. Now I look like Rambo.
You're like a swamp girl.
I feel very official.
It's a good day for us. We'll see what happens. It's hunting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
So Steve and I are standing in a blind, and this blind is how many feet do you think?
Probably 4 feet in the ground.
And it's just a metal box that's lined with wood. And as you can see, we're surrounded by all the dried stalks of corn. And so I think we're pretty well camouflaged to entice some ducks to come our way.
Today's what we call a ducky day. So there's wind, there's cloud cover, it's a little chilly. The more you don't want to be golfing, the more you want to be duck hunting, and vice versa. So if it's a gorgeous day, you don't want to be here. If it's crummy day and you're like, oh, do I want to go outside? You want to be in a duck blind.
That's great. So you leave the corn on the stalks as a way to attract the ducks?
You can grow other crops. The corn's the best. It withstands the weather better. A lot of guys have beans, and ducks will eat beans, or they'll eat millet or milo or whatever, but once you get a hard freeze or hard frost, that tends to fall over. The corn's sturdy, and the ducks love it. In that regard, it's the ideal crop for us. There are 4 flyways in the United States, and the Mississippi, which is where we are, is the largest flyway of all of them. And so they're coming out of Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Minnesota. So they all go up there to breed in the spring. And then by fall or winter, they're coming back. So when they come down, they're just looking to eat. You know, they're going to fly, eat. As long as they can get access to food, they'll stick around. Open water and food. If the ponds and lakes and rivers freeze over, they're gone, and they're farther south.
In the evening, after the duck hunting time period is over, you actually do see thousands of ducks come in to stay the night here in the fields.
Yes, yes. You name it. Everything's trying to eat a duck. And, you know, they can come from below, they can come from above. And so if he's out in the middle of the water, that's the safest place he's going to be. And so there's 3,000, he's even safer. So they'll go sit on the river, they'll sit on the conservation areas, but then they want to feed at night. And so there's no food on the river, obviously, so they'll come in here. Any species that's allowed to be hunted in Missouri is heavily controlled and regulated by the state and federal government to make sure that the population sustains itself where it is or gets stronger. And you do that by limiting the season, limiting the hours that you can hunt, limiting the number of birds you can hunt on any given day. Right now we've got more ducks alive in North America than we ever have. So it's been a tremendous success story for the overall population of ducks. Rules in Missouri are 60-day season. Generally starts about Halloween, usually ends about Christmas, plus or minus a week. You can shoot 6 birds a day. There are various species limits, so you need to know what you're shooting at before you do it, and that is the way that we keep the species going so that next year the hunting is as good as it was this year or better. He's using different intonations. One's a, hey, get back here call. Yeah. One's a, everything's fine, come on down call. It's just different sounds. I got a real good handle on where the ducks are just by listening, because I've been hunting with them for 15 years.
So how close do they have to be for you to be able to shoot them?
About 25 yards, 30 yards, maybe 40. So you see the edge of the water there? If a bird's flying, you wouldn't want to shoot him too much farther past.
Oh, okay, so they have to be pretty close.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. I never miss. Conservation is about money. Within 5 miles of here, we have both a state and a federal game preserve. which is where the animals can thrive and prosper. That doesn't come about without money. And hunters pay for the privilege of hunting in Missouri. You got to play by the rules and you got to pay for the privilege. And that's been going on for about 80 years now. The amount of money the Department of Conservation has collected through hunting licenses is substantial, and that's what funds the conservation effort. In addition to the public efforts, there's a great deal of private effort. The most notable on a national basis is Ducks Unlimited. We've also got the Great Rivers Habitat right here in the bottoms land here of St. Charles and Lincoln County. All of them working very hard to keep the species alive, healthy, thriving, and getting stronger every year. So it's a public-private effort that's probably as good as an example as you're going to see in terms of cooperation and ultimate success.
So you have 9 members of the Duck Club?
Right, there are 9 of us here, and it's an excuse to get together. Season's 60 days long. Steve and Bobby are out here. You know, they're helping the farmer plant the crop, get the soil ready, get the blinds dressed out and everything. And so, you know, for some people it's a 2-month-a-year experience, and for others it's kind of a 12-month-a-year deal. That was nice calling, boys. That was a tough one. I was up over the corn and...
You're a good shot. Is there as much fat on a wild duck as a duck that you would buy in the grocery store? I would think not.
No, those ducks are, I don't even know if they're outside. You know, they're indoors or whatever. They're penned up or pretty close to, you know, whereas these things are flying. I mean, bird you shoot here is a real good chance. Yeah, he's probably flown 1,000 miles to get here. So, I mean, it's lean.
It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was really intrigued by what it means to hunt. You are able to spend time in the natural environment, which I think a lot of folks don't have a chance to do these days.
On any given day, you'll see eagles, you'll see pelicans, you'll see swans, you'll see ducks, geese, you name it, and you're out in the middle of it. You get a tremendous respect for the animals, you get a tremendous respect for outdoors. All of my buddies are heavily involved in the conservation efforts, either doing something or contributing, you know, good chunks of money to it. And the duck population is stronger now than it's ever been in terms of just numbers.
A lot of people who don't hunt would be surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
If you don't protect the resources, they won't be here to enjoy.
Right. People like us buy licenses. We support conservation. As a result, it's been very successful. Experience Missouri outdoors, whether it's with a camera, whether it's with binoculars, or whether it's as a hunting experience. Just get outside and appreciate all of the wildlife and all that nature has around us. It's all right there if you wish to take advantage of it and go out and immerse yourself in it.
The hunt was a ton of fun, but now it's time to figure out what to do with all of those duck breasts. So we are here in Kansas City for a class that is hosted by the Missouri Department of Conservation, featuring 2 local chefs. Let's get in the kitchen and see what's cooking.
We got some fun stuff tonight. I'm going to demonstrate how to clean ducks. I'll talk a little bit about waterfowl populations and identify some different waterfowl. We are in the 20th year of 60-day, 6 duck seasons in Missouri. We are the Missouri Department of Conservation, and we're responsible for taking care of fish, forest, and wildlife resources across the state. I joined the department 2 years ago. I'm a lifelong hunter and fisherman and self-professed foodie. I love food, and I have a good relationship with the chefs in Kansas City. When I came on board with the Department of Conservation, we were looking for new program ideas, and I thought, well, let's just put all that together. And the Field to Fork program was born. So many times people will do one aspect of a hunt or a fish. They'll go and catch a fish and they don't know what to do with it. Or they'll go to a friend's house and they'll eat some deer steak but they won't actually go hunting. What we try to do is put all the pieces together so they'll have a chance to make that full connection from field to fork. Each of my Field to Fork programs, I start with a lesson in natural history. I talk about the resource and talk about the populations and how hunting and fishing is a tool that we use to manage populations. Waterfowl populations right now are at near record. Some species are at all-time record highs since we've been recording waterfowl population numbers. Missouri is really blessed with a tremendous amount of wildlife. Quail are rebounding, waterfowl numbers are at all-time highs. We've had 20 years of liberal duck seasons, and with long seasons and high bag limits, and waterfowl numbers continue to skyrocket. All of our programs are seasonal based. For example, in August it was fishing season, so we cooked catfish and gar and carp and drum. In September we cooked squirrels, and in October we cooked Canada geese and turkey. In November was deer season, so we cooked venison, and now it's duck season. So we're cooking waterfowl tonight. We'll talk about some species of waterfowl. The most common duck in Missouri, of course, is, what's this one, guys? The mallard, all right, and this is a mallard, and this is a mallard. They just like to sail around. I mean, just look at the wingspan on that bird for such a small duck. Okay, so now that we know what our ducks are, now we'll talk about how to clean a duck. There's two methods of cleaning. One is skinning, and one is plucking. And it kind of depends on the duck. The chefs that we have for the Field to Fork program have been awesome. We've had over a dozen chefs in the last 2 years, and the chefs in Kansas City play well with each other and they talk to each other, and the word of mouth about the program's really spread. Tonight we have Chef Martin Huser from a Fair restaurant. And then we have Chef Travis Meeks, who works at Jarocho Pescados y Mariscos, which is a seafood restaurant. There's some pretty fantastic dishes tonight.
Slice is ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, all right. I've got tons of volunteers to help plate and serve.
Okay.
You let them know anything you need, they'll come up and help you. Okay? Sure. We've got two amazing chefs here tonight. I've got Chef Martin Huser from a Fair. He's back. Give him a hand. And I have Chef Travis Meeks, who's busy chopping back here. I'm going to turn it over to the chefs. We have 5 wonderful dishes. All right, Chef Travis, what you got for us?
We're going to do yakitori, guys. Today we're obviously going to do duck and duck heart. We're going to do the tenders, which is the really nice piece of meat that's inside of the breast on the other side. No marinating or anything. They've got just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. All the seasoning and the flavoring is going to come behind the sauce. Very simple. It's mirin, a little bit of soy, some sugar, and some garlic. That's it.
That sauce was so good.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
All right, Chef Martin has our second dish. Take it away, Chef.
Yes, so we have, I don't know if you have heard the term of coq au vin, which is French for chicken in red wine braised. So I did the same with the duck. And I'm gonna pair this with a celery root puree. So you will get some really nice earthy flavors. And I got a tiny little bit of crispy skin, which I'm gonna put on top for a garnish. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Travis, you ready?
Yes, sir. Next dish is one of my favorite things in the world, is duck pastrami. So I did it a couple different ways. I did 2 different cures just to kind of show you the difference between both. So I got plenty of duck meat here. I'm gonna slice a bunch up so you can see the difference between both cures. On this particular one, we're gonna do a really light slaw instead of a kraut. This is a sherry mustard vinaigrette that we're gonna toss into our cabbage here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some sliced up for you guys.
All right, so the next is another French wild duck with an orange glaze. And what I have done for the orange glaze is I caramelized sugar. I'm flambéed it with some Grand Marnier or an orange liquor. Flamed it, it's always a lot of fun. And then I added orange juice, I reduced it down, and then I added some demi-glaze into the sauce. So this is my base sauce. Little fire. That's the fun part. I'm serving it on a Savoy cabbage confit.
We've got one more dish tonight, and this is probably the craziest thing that we've ever had at Field of Fork. So Travis, you want to tell us what it is?
Okay, so I tried to do something easy, something moderate, and something completely in left field. And this is definitely in left field. My chef turned me on to the idea because I was telling him that I had never done Peking duck, and he was basically telling me I was a wuss that I couldn't pull it off. So this is a Japanese version. In Japan, they don't do anything simple. They take time, they take effort, and they put a lot of love and compassion into their food that they do. This is definitely no exception. It's usually in about the 10-hour range is what you want to set back for something like this. It's a cold day, you don't have anything else to do kind of thing for sure. What I did first was I took all the ducks, got it all together, and just marinated it overnight. You take them out of the brine, and you find something to hang them on like this. So we do that up and down all the way around. I do it 20 times, 10 in the front, 10 in the back. I bought a bucket of duck fat, got the fat up to about 300 degrees, and I poured the duck fat right over the top of it. I did that every 25 minutes for 6 hours.
That's love, guys.
Straight. All right, we're gonna concentrate on the breasts, and let's see what happens here. Pretty perfect. I'm super happy. Extremely happy.
As we're wrapping up our last dish, let's give Chef Martin and Travis a great big hand. Fantastically delicious. I hope you guys try some of these recipes or try some new stuff. And thank you guys for supporting us. I really appreciate you. And again, I couldn't do it with my volunteers. Thank you guys very much.
So after our hunting expedition with Steve, I came back with 2 of the duck breasts and I froze it in milk per their instructions. So I have just thawed them out, and I'm going to show you how to make a quick and relatively simple and very flavorful dish using the wild duck. If you don't have wild duck, of course, you can use duck from the grocery store, not a problem. But we're going to be making a blackberry and shallot and sage wine reduction. It's going to be very, very tasty. So the first step of the recipe is I'm going to make a sweet sour marinade for the duck. And I'm just gonna take about a tablespoon of honey. And now it's time for the sour, and that's going to come in the form of balsamic vinegar, about 2 tablespoons, maybe a little bit more. A couple tablespoons of oil. And then I'm also going to chop up 1 garlic clove. You want the flavors that you're cooking with duck to really stand up to the more intense flavor of the duck itself. And wild duck is going to have even more flavor than something that is coming from the grocery store. So I'm just going to put these duck breasts into the marinade. I'm going to turn to coat. I'm going to set this aside at room temperature for about 15 minutes while I chop up all my ingredients for that pan sauce. This particular pan sauce is using blackberries, white wine, shallots and garlic, and sage. I'm heating my pan up just on medium high because I'm going to sear the duck breasts. I don't want to overcook them. I want the outside to be nice and caramelized, but I want that interior to still have a really beautiful medium rare character to it. So I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to add some oil to my pan, and then in goes the duck. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move this over to my plate. I'm going to tent this, just let it rest. So my next step in the recipe is I'm going to deglaze the pan with this Chardonnay from Wild Sun Winery. I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup. And now I'm just going to add in the 2 shallots that I chopped earlier. Then I'm going to add a cup of these gorgeous blackberries. And because we're just about finished, it's time to stir in that tablespoon of sage. This looks fantastic. I'm turning off the heat, and it's time to go ahead and plate up the duck. I've chosen to serve the duck with some wild and basmati rice that's mixed together. Oh my goodness, you can see the duck is just perfectly medium rare and tender. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spoon just a bit of this pan sauce on top. Just some chopped fresh chives for a little bit of color, as well as that beautiful kind of oniony flavor. And I'm pairing it with a Chambourcin from KC Wineworks. The Chambourcin grape produces wines that are really juicy, and that is going to pair beautifully not only with the duck itself, but with those blackberries and the sage. Thank you for joining me on our On the Hunt episode, and I'll see you next time.